Welcome to the True Talk Podcast. Here's your host, Jenna.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of True Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Jenna. Today, everyone, I am so excited to introduce to you Lauren Wright, who I have never met in person, but I hope to one day. We actually met through the beauty of social media and mutual friends. So shout out to Margot for getting us in contact. But guys, Lauren is a fellow warrior through an autoimmune, through health issues, and has really found her way through a healing of just naturally. And you'll see, I'm going to put her Instagram in the show notes, in the description. Go check out her profile. She puts out such educational content about a lot of the stuff that I've spoken to you guys about, you know, whether it's grounding and what that means for your body and what that does. And we're going to dive into all of the ways that Lauren has come to where she is now. So without further ado, Lauren, welcome to the True Talk Podcast and welcome to the True Crew.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I was really looking forward to today.
Of course. Okay, so let's jump into it. How did all this become? Because a lot of people, when it comes to health issues, autoimmune, whatever, it kind of happens overnight. And it's not really a traditional way of how stuff starts. So if you can give us a little background.
Yeah, it's so interesting because even when you say that, like, it kind of happens overnight, it's like, I think that's what we all think, that this all kind of explodes overnight. But so my healing journey started about 4 years ago. I had an infection in a back molar tooth that actually was a root canal tooth from 20 plus years ago. And a local dentist that I was seeing had suggested that I needed to get a second root canal on the tooth. And at that point in time, you know, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I listened to her guidance, and it was, how quickly can I get this done? And who's going to execute this for me? And so I followed through with the second root canal on this tooth. And when I finished the process of that, closing up with the crown work, I started noticing random symptoms. I was having hot flashes out of nowhere. Everything that I was eating, I was reacting to. My skin was freaking out. My face was burning. Red dots were going all over my face. I was itching. I had never experienced any of this before, and it was really, really freaking me out. However, the position that I was in was then the world went into lockdown because of COVID. So I had no access to anyone. I was doing things via Zoom or FaceTimes with some doctors and some dermatologists at that point. And it was just hard to go based on anything because nobody could physically see me and understand what I was talking about. So once the world kind of opened up a few months later and we were able to have, you know, physical contact with people again, I went in and I specifically saw 3 different dermatologists, and every dermatologist that I saw spoke to me in such absolute terms. But I think it was twofold. It was the second dermatologist, who's extremely well respected. When she said to me, she told me that I was presenting as having mild rosacea and that there was nothing I could do about it, that here are some medications, here are some different creams that you can rub on your face. And it's just something you're going to have to maintain. And I like literally felt an energetic shift in my body when she said that to me. Like, I was like, how do you as a doctor, like, that's it? Like that's what I have. Like, it's take these pills and rub these creams on my face. And I remember when I executed some of that, every time I swallowed a pill, every time I rubbed a cream on my face, my body was screaming, no, this is not the way. But you kind of just keep going because you don't really know what else. And I went to see a third dermatologist, and ironically enough, the actual dermatologist wasn't going to be in that day. And they had called me and said, she's not going to be in. Are you comfortable seeing her PA? And I said, sure. And I remember she walked into the room. I shared everything that was going on, and she like tilted her head when she was looking at me. And I kind of like equated to like how like a little puppy like looks at their owner to the side. And I knew right then the way she looked at me was she knew clinically that how I was presenting, she probably needed to just conclude with the same things. But she was like, Lauren, there's more to this. And I feel like there's more going on with your gut and more stuff going on systematically. And right then and there, I said to myself, all right, game on. I have to figure this out. I'm not getting anywhere quick in the traditional space. I need to take my health into my own hands and figure this out. And I remember thinking, I don't care how long this takes. I will figure this out. And I look forward to the day where I can come back and can share my wisdom. And, this is another way, just in case there might be another patient that is like spiraling
Right.
off, where you can present another way to them. So
Right.
that was my intro into like the functional healing space, if you will. And at that point, I started to dabble in the functional world. I started learning about what is functional medicine, what does that mean, what does it entail. I started working with some different practitioners, not all at the same time, but as they kind of ran their course. And then I ended up with a practitioner in which I executed 18 months of like intensive work.
Right.
Whether that be, running functional lab testing. I was doing muscle testing at the time. I was doing bioresonance scans. Bioresonance scans are where you swab your mouth, you cut a piece of hair, and it energetically scans against toxins that are not supposed to be in your body or resonating negatively in your
Wow.
body. And I was using a lot of these modalities to put together a fuller picture of details of what was going on. And I started to chip away at these things one at a time. When I got to the end of the 18 months, I was completely burned out by functional medicine. I realized that and I just got full body chills, like thinking about this, because it was like such a pivotal moment for me. At that point, I think I was sourcing too much of my power out
Right.
to try to fix me. And certainly I was in the right realm and doing the right things. But I think that was the universe coming down on me hard, that I wasn't necessarily listening to my whispers at that point and executing in the right order. And I remember I came down to my kitchen one morning and I took my arm and I threw out every single supplement and vitamin. And I was like, I will never put another vitamin in my body. Like I'm tired and I'm done. And at that point, it was because I needed to really come back inward and really do the deep nervous system work.
Yes.
I think when you are faced with obstacles and challenges, up until a certain point of your life, you only know what you know from your upbringing. And
Right.
I had to really go back into me and do some of the harder work and repattern some of the ways I was thinking about things and executing things, and really kind of get out of that fix it control mentality.
Right.
And I realized that once I started to peel those layers back of that onion, my nervous system like came down quite considerably. And that's when your body is able to really turn online in a really profound way. And it's not that everything I was doing didn't work. Everything I was doing absolutely made a huge difference. But that was my next mountain to climb, was to really get my nervous system regulated and under control. And when you're able to do that, that's when you enter the next level of like big boy healing, and really into your own power. And so that was kind of like a really big moment for me.
Excuse me. Sorry.
So yeah, so I then dove into the nervous system regulation work. I did a program called Primal Trust, which I will share with anyone and everyone, because it was such a profound shift in my journey. And to be honest, when I got the first whisper about it, I was like, oh God, I cannot deal with adding another wellness thing to my plate. And I didn't. So I just chilled. And then a second whisper came by and I was like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. It's coming up again. And then by the third time it came up, I was like, all right, there's a reason why this keeps coming up in front of me. I have to execute on this. And I find that things transpire for me whenever the universe wants to talk to me. I get things in synchronicities of threes. And not everything
Yeah.
has to make sense. Sometimes when these things come your way, you just have to blindly trust. And that's what I did. I blindly trust. I was tired going into it. And I started to really learn about nervous system regulation work. I started to really learn about the power of somatics. I started to learn about how the only way through is through your body. I started to learn that whatever you fear is the dark cave that you have to enter, because in there lies the golden treasure that awaits you, that'll break you free. Like I
That's
just started.
beautiful.
It was so wild for me and so
Yeah.
transformational for me. And I did that program for about a year, pretty intensively. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And then I chilled again. Then I kind of like, as I was reaching these milestones, I would take breaks and I would integrate and I would just be present and I would be. And that's kind of where I am now. Just kind of like being
Wow.
present and integrating. And I've made tremendous strides. Completely rebalanced my thyroid, because as I eventually learned, my numbers were a little out of whack, which is
Mhm.
what the hot flashes were stemming from. Completely, I wouldn't say, I want to say the skin to food issues have completely rebalanced. Leaky gut, I'm still working on. I think that
Okay.
takes quite a bit of time to kind of get into like a solid place, but like just it's such a different place than where I was 4 years ago. Thank God. And that's kind of like where I am with some things now.
Wow. You are incredible. You're a warrior. And it's I understand it because I've been in that place of you have to want it so bad to where you're going to stay disciplined
Oh, yeah.
and you're going to put everything into it. And it almost feels like a full-time job because I don't know if you had it this way, but I had like supplements I had to take before eating anything, then with breakfast, then at lunch, then at dinner, then before bed. Like everything is timed for the way that your system digests and works and all of that. So it becomes like a full-time job. And I mean, with everything that you were saying, I can only imagine how like structured you were with all of your regimens.
Oh, yeah. And that's an interesting point, because prior to doing the nervous system brain rewiring work, I still subconsciously was executing in that control mode. And to your point,
Oh,
yeah, like I never missed a vitamin. I never missed a time call. Like I think a lot of us who are in the healing journey are very much in the same way as you speak of, like, take this upon rising, take this mid morning, take it at lunch. And if you
yep.
don't take it, like, oh my God, you're going to freak out. And um, I very much executed a lot in that same way. And it's so interesting because I take supplements now and my attitude towards it is so different. It's kind
Yeah.
of like an add-on to my life. And because I think I realized for so long I was doing so many detoxes, I was doing so many protocols, and like there were many months where I wasn't fixed, but every protocol, every next vitamin or supplement, I was like, well, it's going to be this, it's going to be that one. And I would just grind. And it wasn't until I realized like there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to be fixed. My body just needs to be rebalanced, and some love and some support needs to be poured into me in the right ways. I need
Yep.
to undo some of this programming and go about things differently. And so now when I go about things, it's with such ease and such a chillness.
Yes.
There's not this urgency.
Yes.
That's been a big shift for me.
I love how you emphasize on that aspect of the self-love, self-care, that the body just needs a little TLC, but
Mhm.
not only from supplements and eating and stuff like that and detoxing, but also the energy work that you do. And just your post the other day about healing your inner child. And I feel like that's really where I am right now, is helping to heal my inner child. And I love, 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 guys, you'll see it on Lauren's profile, but she has a picture of her younger self in her bathroom or in her bedroom. And it's just a reminder to look at your younger self and remind yourself, this is who I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for her. And it gets me so emotional to think about. What
Yeah.
has that meant for you, working on your inner child?
Yeah. It's like, you had mentioned that in my bathroom, and one of my posts that I just recently did, I put a picture up of me as a little girl, and I was listening to someone and they had referenced that they did that. And I was like, that is so beautiful. Like, so I took
Yeah.
this little picture of me and I put it on my bathroom in my mirror. And every single day I start my day looking at her. And it's just a reminder to me that even though I'm 42 years old, to never lose sight of her inside of me,
Yeah.
to always make sure that everything I'm doing in my life is protecting her and guiding her, and supporting her and loving her. And
I just got
I,
full body chills.
uh, I think it's so important. I think that when we're little, it's like we're these little innocent, pure beings. Like,
Yes.
life hasn't unfolded yet and things haven't been projected onto us yet. And life can get really hard and life can have twists and turns. And sometimes we have a way of letting things patterning onto us that ultimately start affecting our programming and the way we think and the way we respond to things. And I
Right.
got to a place in my life where I was like, there's so much that's not serving me anymore, that I need to change and do differently with. And I really started to do like a lot of inner child work, coming back to what works for Lauren and what works for little Lauren. And I have 3 little kids and I have a little daughter who's 7 years old. And she's a good reminder for me that sometimes things are simple, right? Like if
Yes.
she were to come and say to me, Mommy, this girl was being mean to me today. I didn't like how it made me feel. I would very simply say to her, don't play with her, play with somebody
Right.
else, like spend time with people that make you feel good. But for an
Right.
adult, we endure it longer, or we don't have boundaries for ourselves for periods of time. And so for me, the inner child work is simplifying things and not losing sight of what is important, and just getting back to that inner child that lives inside you, and always kind of keeping that as your steady life force as you move through life.
And it's so important, because there are things that we might not remember that could trigger us now,
Right.
whether it's an instance that happened with a sibling, with somebody at school. People, kids are ruthless and they can be mean, and there's bullies, and it's all part of the growing pains, which I totally get. But I feel like the working world and the adult world and the responsibilities kick in, and all of that just kind of falls on you at once.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can become so rigid in their ways, and they forget how beautiful just simplicity is and life is. And as cliche as it sounds, stop and smell the roses. And like, kids do that. And I nanny part-time, and they're 3 and about 18 months old. And
Mm.
he gets excited when he sees the paint on the sidewalk for, the pipes or something, where it's red or it's orange or it's yellow. And he's like, look, red. And I'm like,
Aw.
yeah, 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 come on. And then I stop and I'm like, no, that is cool. Because where did the red come from?
Right, right. It's just a sweet moment. It's so true.
Yeah, and I feel that's so important for all of us, no matter what walk of life you're in. If you're healthy or if you're struggling, work on that inner child, because you'd be surprised how much healing can come from just even that.
Absolutely. And also too, to your point before, when you said like often, people can trigger you, like generally
Yeah.
when you get your closest relationships or people in your life are often going to be the ones that triggered you. And that's also an opportunity to take a moment and to reflect, why are you being triggered? Often when you're
Yes.
being triggered, it's because there's something in you that needs to be healed. Um,
Yes.
or it's because you're not honoring your true self and you don't have the right boundaries in place, or you're not interacting with the right people.
Right.
I think that's important
Right.
too.
Yes. Preach, sister, preach. So all of what you have learned and have tried and everything in the natural and holistic world, I'm curious, what has been your favorite so far?
Hmm. Well, if I'm being honest, I cannot stand taking vitamins and supplements, so that's not my
It's
favorite.
hard. It's
Just
hard because a lot of the time it can be a lot at once and you're like, "Ugh."
right, and it's like so
Yeah.
that would be my favorite. I would say, like, looking back on everything, with this healing journey, probably the hardest and most rewarding of what I've done has been the nervous system work, the brain retraining, the somatical work. That has brought me to a place of, like, in moments of stress or angst, realizing that the power literally comes from within me. So that's been pretty mind blowing for me, like being able to learn actual tools that I can execute in moments, where I can completely come back to neutrality. And it's
Yeah.
not about not being affected by things. Life is always going to ebb and flow with you, but it's how quickly can you come back to yourself. I would
Right.
say that has been most profound for me. But I certainly have loved, in terms of figuring out the pieces to my puzzle, I've done some very, very cool things. So I think what was very cool for me to realize was I very recently, in the last maybe 2 months, did an iridology session where I took very close up pictures of my iris. And I worked with a coach who was able to analyze my iris. And it was very clear in the color of my iris. So most people don't know that when you heal your body, the color of your iris will lighten. And I never had
Wow.
a full picture to notice that. But what we saw in my iris was that 3/4 of my iris was considerably lighter than a small chunk of my iris. And ironically enough, the small chunk of my iris that's still a little darker is where my stomach meets my nervous system, which is exactly where I am right now in my life.
The
So
leaky gut. Yeah.
like mentioned in the beginning, that I still have work to do on my gut, and I am in, like, the most incredible field of flowers of, like, nervous system transformational work, which has completely transformed my life. But I'm loving it, and there's so much more to learn and to grow with. So that
Yes.
was very eye opening for me, and also really validating and rewarding to be like, Lauren, my God, you have come so far. Like, all
Yes.
those months you were grinding, all those months you were taking those supplements where you didn't want to deal and not do anything, like, look, it really paid off and you really healed yourself. So the
Right.
iridology was really fascinating for me. So I would recommend that to anyone as a puzzle piece. All of these are puzzle pieces for you
Yes.
as the CEO of your own health to put together. You and I have talked about muscle testing. I know that that's been super
Yes.
beneficial for you. I see a muscle
Yes.
tester in New York City. That is real and that is wild. I mean, let me tell you, there's been times where I've gone to see her for fun, where I'll bring, like, my beauty care products and stuff, and I'll
Yeah.
love the product, and she'll put my arm up and I'll be like, not a shot in hell is she moving my arm. And my arm will go weak. And I'm like, no, I love that
No,
beauty.
I love this.
And listen, it doesn't mean that you can't use it, but it's just like a guiding force of, hey, maybe there's something that might resonate a little better with
Right.
so
Right.
muscle can be incredible, when maybe things that you're inputting into your body, foods, drinks, protein powders, whatever it may be, vitamins. Sometimes you don't know if you're pissing in the wind. It's like, so
Yeah.
sometimes for me, it's helpful to know, is this real? helping me, or is it just something else I'm putting on my plate? So I've loved
Right.
muscle testing. Labs work don't lie. I always say labs don't lie. So once or twice a year, I'll just run my labs to make sure that things are like really even keeled. My current practitioner that I work with, I've been with her, gosh, I feel like it's well over a year now. I absolutely love her. We're like the best partnership in things. She is an engineer. And so that combined with my very, very deep intuitive knowing, it's like created this partnership that's incredible. And
Beautiful.
he has a very specific way of reading labs, which I think is important for people to know. Like, just because someone's a functional practitioner or holistic practitioner doesn't mean they know how to connect dots or patterns. And I think it's really important when you're working with anyone that they really, really know how to read functional lab work that is in optimal ranges, and they know how to really move the needle and connect patterns and dots for you.
Right.
And bioresonance scans have been really incredible. So I had mentioned, when you do a bioresonance scan, you cut like a little bit of the end of your hair, you swab the inside of your mouth, and that is mind blowing. Those results for me have been dead on with me. And that combined with running any lab work has really created some incredible pathways for me to follow. And when you do bioresonance scans, at least with my practitioner, she runs what supplements and vitamins I am literally supposed to take that resonate with my bio individual needs. So anything very specific to me, it's not just a generic. So I would say all of those things have been really informative for me at different points in time. And I always kind of go back inward to me. Like, let's say if I'm wrapping up a season of taking, a certain supplement or vitamin, I'll kind of take a pause and check in with myself. And where are you now with things? What do you want to do next? And I always try to listen to how my body is guiding me and where it's leading me. And maybe I don't want to run lab work. And maybe, my body will whisper, Lauren, do a bioresonance scan. And sure enough, when we did run my last scan, a very specific staph bacteria showed up that has very, very deep lineage through many scientific studies with rosacea and skin health. And that took 4 years that to be uncovered in my body. So it's really about like just trusting the process and listening to how your body is whispering to you, and just slowly putting the pieces of your puzzle together, and just pacing yourself accordingly. So all of those things have been super, super helpful. And I think it's really important for anyone that's listening to this, because everything I just shared can be overwhelming. And for maybe some can feel like, this is expensive, or how do I do this? You do not need to do all of this at once. You can do one thing a year. Whatever healing journey you are on is a marathon. It is not a sprint, and it's going to take time. Whatever you're being faced with did not happen overnight. It was a slow burn of the candle that got you to your end point, and you need to take time at the right timing to be rebuilt. You have to trust that exactly how you are being paced is exactly how you are supposed to be paced. And if you were to be healed overnight, you would not learn everything that you are learning or about to embark on. So I just want to share that for anyone who's listening and doesn't really know where to start. Start with labs. Like, run your blood work. Labs don't lie. Get your basis, get your foundation, and then just slowly take it from there and just keep putting one puzzle piece in.
Thank you for saying that, because you took the thought right out of my mind. It's so important for people to hear that, because, they want that instant healing. They want right away answers. They want to know, why is this happening to me? Oh, but I don't think I can go down the holistic route. It's expensive. It's hard because insurance doesn't take, it's a lot of that. So thank you for putting that disclaimer out there and those words of love. You mentioned, we talked about the muscle testing. I want to go back to that for a second. When I went for muscle testing the first time, I'm like, yeah, she's not gonna get me. I got this. Like, I'm strong. I'll go against it. Yeah, right. Like, I was like, this is hocus pocus. No way is this stuff real. what was your first like reaction to the muscle testing?
So I feel like for me, I really sit deep on the other side of the fence with a lot of this stuff. And I am like deeply, deeply spiritual and very connected to like the universe and spirit.
I've
So for
become that
me,
way. I've gone
yeah,
into that now. So I'm
yeah.
interested
So
to
for
hear yours.
Yeah, so for me, I knew it was going to be very real.
Okay.
I think for me, where I was very surprised was in the things that I didn't think were hurting me. I think that's where it got me. Or I think it really tested me where I was like, my inner will is going to be stronger than how she very so gently will push on my arm.
Yeah.
And I think that was very proving for me of no, Lauren, it's not always what you think. So
Yeah.
for me, that's where she would get me. And I think also too, like there would be things that would be going on with me that she wouldn't know about. And she'd be like, huh, what's going on with this? Or, huh, what's going on with that? And I'm like, the fact that my body can tell you this and you don't have a clue because I verbally, like, I would lay on her table and not say a word because I would want to test her.
Yeah.
And body would literally tell her every single thing that was going on inside me. So from that aspect, I was like, this is mind blowing to me. But
Yeah.
what people don't realize is we're energy. Like the body doesn't lie.
Yes.
So
Yes.
energetically, when we're working with somebody who's trained in muscle testing, they are going to figure it out. So also, side note, do not go to a muscle tester if you don't want them knowing your shit because they are going to figure it out.
Thank
And I'm not
you.
saying that they're not going to figure out like the emotional stuff, but anything physically going on with you, they are going to straight up tell you this is happening. And so it's really wild. It's very, very eye.
Okay. So two quick stories for you're gonna laugh. One of them isn't like haha, but I had gone through a breakup and I was just like down the dumps and she's like, "You know what? Let me check your chakras."
Mhm.
And my heart chakra was not good. And she's like, "You have a broken heart." And I'm
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
do. And I just like hysterically started crying. I'm like,
Oh,
damn, I didn't even tell you. Like, how did you figure that out? And
yeah.
then the other thing, which I'm not proud to say, but we've all tried things through growing up. Um, there was a weekend that I had tried a vape
Mhm.
pen or whatever. And I went to my appointment and she did the muscle testing and I had something was wrong and she put the different toxins on me to see
Mhm.
which one it was that was affecting me, heavy metals.
Yeah. Oh God. And
And
you,
I was like,
yeah.
I didn't say a word and my body threw me under the bus. I was like, damn.
That's wild. Yeah. It's so funny you bring that up because I talk to my kids about that all the time because they'll see people using them and they'll say, Mom, what is that? And I'll share with them what that is and kind of explain why people may or may not use them. And I try to very simply explain to them, like, you're inhaling an artificial chemical that is
Yeah.
encased by metal. Like, so just try to think about what that might be doing to your lungs. And they kind of look at me like, why would anybody do that? And
Yeah.
it's like we all do things when we're young and we all try and experiment with different things and you don't know what you don't know. So you do the best
Right.
that you can and you learn from it.
Yeah.
And sure, with your path and with your healing, your body released it.
Oh, yeah. I definitely detoxed it after that. But ask me if I ever touched another one after
Yeah,
that. I was like, no, I'm
I know.
done.
You live and you learn. You live and you learn. That's
Yeah,
part of being human.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So incredible getting to hear your story and everything that you're doing. I love how you have now created this to be your life's work. Level up with Lauren. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. Level up not only your health, but your energy and your frequency and all of that. That's so much of what I'm into right now. So I love following your posts.
Oh, thank you so much. This has turned into, I literally feel like I'm living my passion. Um, I had mentioned when we were speaking that I had a very long career in celebrity public relations, and um, with COVID, that kind of, subsided, and then it turned into this healing journey, and I feel like I have learned so much through this process about myself. And I've worked with some incredible healers, both spiritually, physically, functional. And I feel very, very compelled to share this. And I was nervous at first, to be honest, whether I was going to do this or not. We talked a little bit about how social media can be scary, like to
Yeah.
open yourself up publicly to complete and total
Yeah.
strangers. And that's very nerve wracking. But what I've learned so far is that so much beauty also comes from this, and the connections that you make. And that is filling my heart in such a way. And my mission and goal, and when I started this Instagram page, was I am not here to tell anybody that what they're doing is wrong. I am not here to
Right.
tell anyone what they should do. I am here to simply share what I have done for me and how it has profoundly leveled up my life across the board, and take from it what you will. I hope that what I share just creates a spark of inspiration to maybe connect a dot for yourself in your own healing journey, and to think, that's so interesting. I never thought about something like that. Or, oh my God, I never even knew that something
Right.
like this existed. And then for individuals to take this information and to run with it on your own. The biggest blessing in my life was taking my health into my own hands. And so much power has come from that. And that also doesn't mean that you still can't learn from traditional ways. I think there's a place for
Right.
both. Um, I think the purpose of it is finding your own power. So what does that look like for you? So this has been such joy
Yes.
for me. And to be able to do what I'm doing now, I'm loving the writing process, and literally every single post I write. And it's something that I have experienced personally. And it's just been incredible. The ride. I had a coach once that said to me, "Isn't the mystery of life incredible?" And she was so true. Like, the mystery of life, once you come into alignment with what serves you best, and if you're living your passion, it's incredible what unfolds from it. And so it feels really awesome to be doing things like this and to be talking to you. And it's been awesome. It's been really, really incredible.
I'm so grateful for this connection, and just being able to speak with you is such a privilege, and I'm beyond blessed and grateful for it. So thank you for sharing your story and so much of your knowledge and what you've experienced, because like you said, it can be scary. It can be hard to be vulnerable and open. Um, Especially about things that people might look at weirdly and differently and say like, "Oh, that's like witchcraft or something." But these things have changed our lives, and we just want to try and help people out there to hopefully help you and change your life as well. So thank you, Lauren, so much for coming on to the podcast. It's
Oh,
been such a treat, and I have one last question for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. If I could have one superpower, what would it be? It would probably be to be like a future fortune teller, because then I wouldn't have to worry
Yeah.
about so much shit. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
I would like to be able to see into the future. But
For
I guess
others
if we
or
all
for
had that,
just you?
then we would. No, for me, because then I could like legit just be calm all the time. and not worry about stuff and not be like people coming at me and wanting to like shoot them with bullets. I would just be like, chill. Everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be
We're
fine.
good.
I think so many of us want to know that because I think ultimately when things hit us in life or when we get scared or when we're unsure, we just want to know we're going to be okay. We just want to know we're going to
Yeah.
be. And so
Yeah.
for me, if I could have a crystal little ball that I could just literally go to and it would be like, nope, you're good. So that would be
Have a
my
great day.
okay, that would be fine. And you know what? You didn't ask me if I had two, but I think lately I have been into, and I'm not like really a big animal person, but birds. Like the amount of time that I find myself sitting outside listening to birds chirp. And there's like lots of scientific studies that talk about when birds sing or chirp, it's because they feel safe. There's no predators around. And often I'll see like birds flying and I'm like, in my next life, I'm coming back as a bird. Like
Yeah.
to just sit on a branch, to just fly
Yeah.
when you want to fly.
Yeah.
So maybe after my crystal ball superhero power, I would then transition to being a bird.
I love it. I love the bonus one in there. I'm so happy you gave me that one too.
What is yours?
Lauren, what
Yours?
an absolute treat to have you on the True Talk podcast. Thank you so, so much for joining us. And like I said before, being so open, talking. Guys, Lauren is just chock full of knowledge when it comes to natural healing and all the things that she has tried. So definitely go check out her profile. It's going to be in the show notes in the description. Give her a follow and try some of the stuff out. You never know what can come from it. So don't just disregard what we're telling you. Definitely look internally, work on your inner child, think about the younger you and what you're doing now to help that younger version of yourself. So until next week, I'll see you guys then.
Thanks for listening to the True Talk podcast. Make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and stay tuned for more to come.